You think you know history? Think again. We're about to pull back the curtain on the most inspiring acts of bravery you've never heard about. These aren't just stories. They're testaments to the human will that demand to be remembered. Click to discover the echoes of courage and meet the heroes time forgot. In the shadowed valleys of the Himalayas, where the wind whispered secrets through ancient pines, lived a village forgotten by naps and memory. It was called Karak, a cluster of stone huts clinging to the mountainside like stubborn roots. The people there spoke of heroes not in grand epics, but in hushed tales around flickering hearths, stories of those who braved the unforgiving peaks without fanfare or fame. This is one such untold story of a man named Dorje, whose courage echoed long after his steps faded into the snow. Dorje was no warrior from legends, no king with a crown of gold. He was a shepherd, his face etched by decades of sun and storm, his hands calloused from guiding yaks through treacherous passes. In the winter of 1947, as India shook off the chains of colonial rule, a different storm brewed in the north. Chinese forces, emboldened by border disputes, began encroaching on the remote frontiers. Karak lay in their path, a speck in the vast wilderness, but one that guarded a vital trade route to Tibet. The villagers knew little of geopolitics. Their world was bounded by the rhythm of seasons and the bleat of their herds. But when scouts from the Indian army arrived, frostbitten and desperate, they brought word of an advancing patrol. "They come for the pass," the captain rasped, his uniform torn. "If they take it, they'll cut off supplies to our outposts. We need guides, men who know these mountains like their own veins." The soldiers offered rewards, food rations, woolen blankets, even rupees that could buy a new life. But the paths were deadly in winter. Avalanches lurked like predators. Crevasses yawned like hungry maws. The young men of Karak hesitated, their eyes on families and futures. Dorje, at 50, stepped forward. "I will go," he said simply, his voice steady as the rock beneath them. No one knew why. He had a wife, Lamo, and 2 daughters who depended on his meager earnings. Perhaps it was the echo of his own father's tales, of nomads who defied empires with nothing but wits and will. They set out at dawn, a ragtag group, Dorje, the captain, and 3 soldiers laden with rifles and radios. The air bit like knives, and snow fell in relentless sheets. Dorje led them through hidden trails, ones carved by generations of herders, invisible to outsiders. "The mountain speaks," he murmured, pressing his ear to the ground. "Listen, or it will claim you." Hours turned to days. An avalanche thundered down, burying their supplies. Dorje dug with bare hands, his fingers bleeding into the white, until he unearthed the radio. "We must warn the base," the captain urged. But the device crackled uselessly, batteries frozen. Dorje eyed the storm-swept ridge ahead. "I know a shorter way," he said, "but it's forbidden. Spirits guard it." The forbidden way was a narrow ledge overhanging a 1,000-foot drop, haunted by legends of lost souls. Winds howled like banshees, threatening to pluck them off like leaves. One soldier slipped, his scream swallowed by the void. Dorje anchored the rope with his staff, hauling the others across one by one. His breath came in ragged gasps, his vision blurring from exhaustion, but he pressed on. On the 3rd night, they spotted the enemy campfires below, a platoon of 30, armed and alert. The pass was theirs, if not contested. The captain's plan was simple: sabotaged their supplies under cover of darkness. But as they descended, a sentry's shout pierced the night. Bullets whizzed like angry bees. The soldiers fired back, but they were outnumbered. In the chaos, Dorje vanished into the shadows. The captain thought him fled, but moments later, a rumble shook the earth. Dorje had triggered a controlled slide. Years of herding had taught him the mountain's weak points. Boulders cascaded, burying the enemy's tents and scattering their forces. The patrol retreated, the pass secured. They returned to Karek as heroes, but Dorje bore the scars. A shattered leg from a falling rock, frostbite that claimed 2 toes. The army promised honors, a medal perhaps, but bureaucracy buried his name in reports. The captain moved on to other battles, and Karek's isolation swallowed the tale. Dorje returned to his yaks, limping through the pastures, his deeds fading like footprints in fresh snow. Years later, when Lamo passed, their daughters found a faded letter among his things from the captain, long retired. "You saved us all, forgotten friend. Your courage echoes still." The daughters shared the story with their children, who told it to theirs. In Karek, heroes weren't forged in statues, but in the quiet acts that bound communities. And so, in the Himalayas' eternal vigil, Dorje's echo lingers, a reminder that true valor often whispers, untold until the wind carries it forth.